Hi everyone, in this episode we're going to make a response event system so that you can fire whatever functionality you desire whenever the player clicks a response inside of the dialog UI. But we're going to start off by just tidying up the code from the last episode. In the last episode we made this dictionary here in order to store the punctuations and the corresponding wait times, but we can do better than that if we use a struct. So let's go ahead and tidy this up real quick to make it a bit more scalable and useful if you want to add more things to it in the future. So let's pop down to the very bottom here and let's define our data structure. So we'll do private read-only struct punctuation, and then this punctuation struct will contain a public read-only hash set of type char, which we will call punctuations, and it will also contain a public read-only float called wait time. And then I'm going to go ahead and insert a constructor, and you can also go ahead and just type out this code yourself, but I'm just going to use my IDE to do it for me because that's a lot quicker. And then at the very top here, instead of doing this, we're just going to turn this dictionary into a list of type punctuation, and over here as well. And then instead of populating it this way, we'll just do new punctuation, and we'll copy in this hash set here and the time, and we'll add a comma there, and we'll add the final one, and we'll once again just copy these in, and we'll get rid of these. And so you can see how this is a lot more scalable, and we can add more properties to it in the future if we so desire. And if we come down to the bottom here, we'll see that we have to update this for loop, and this is because we'll just do for each punctuation in punctuations, and then it's if punctuation category dot punctuations contains, and then punctuation category dot wait time, since we're accessing these two fields here. And so you can see this has also made the code a lot more readable since we aren't using a dictionary anymore. And once again, we can add more properties in the future if we so desire. Right, so that's a little cleanup from the last episode. Now let's go ahead and make the events. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pop into our dialog system. We're going to go ahead and create a new C# script, which we'll call response event. And we'll open that up in our text editor. And then we're going to go ahead and get rid of all the default Unity methods, and we're also going to get rid of these two namespaces, but we will be using unityengine.events. And we're going to go ahead and not make it inherit from mono behavior, and we're also going to make this class serializable, so we'll add the system.serializable attribute. Then we're going to go ahead and first of all add a hide in inspector public string name, and I'll show you why we do this in just a moment. Then we're going to make a serialized field for a private Unity event, which we'll call onPicked_response. Then we're going to make a getter for that, so public Unity event onPicked_response, and we'll have that return the event. And now if we go back into Unity and wait for it to compile, we'll go ahead and make one more new C# script, and we'll call this dialog response events, and we'll open that up in our text editor, and we'll get rid of the default methods here, and then we're going to go ahead and get rid of these two namespaces, and we're going to be importing the system namespace. And what we're going to do here is we're going to make a serialized field for a dialog object, and we're also going to make a serialized field for an array of response events, which was the class that we just created, which we will call events. And then we're going to go ahead and make a getter for that, so public response event array called events, and we'll have that return the events. Then we're going to go ahead and make a public void onValidate, and we're going to start by checking if the dialog object doesn't exist, because in that case we don't have any validation to do, so we'll call return. And then if dialog object.responses is null, so if there aren't any responses, we also want to return. And finally, we want to check if the events are not null and the events.length is equal to the dialog object.responses.length, then we also want to return. and this is going to make sense in just a moment. So we're going to go ahead and do a for int I is equal to 0, while I is less than the dialog object dot responses dot length, and then I plus plus, and we're going to say response is equal to dialog object dot responses at the ith index, and then what we're going to do now is we're going to check if the event does already exist. So we'll say if events at the ith index is not equal to null, then we want to update its name. So we'll do events_i.name is equal to response.responseText, and then at the end we'll say events_i is equal to a new response event, and we'll give it the name which is equal to response.responseText. And in this case we also want to continue. Alright, so now we just need to initialize the events array, and we'll do that outside the for loop. So we'll start by saying if events is equal to null, then we want to say events is equal to a new response event array, and we'll give it the size of the dialog responses. Otherwise, we want to say array.resize, and this is where we're using the system namespace, because array.resize is part of that namespace. We want to pass in the events here, and we'll give it dialog object.responses.length. Okay, so now if we pop back into Unity and we add the component here, I'll add it to the circle here, so dialog response events, you'll see that we have a list of events here and a dialog object field. So if we go ahead and drag in our test dialog object, you'll see that this gets immediately populated, and that's because we've put all this code here into the onValidate method, and the onValidate method fires whenever something's changed. And you'll see that it says yes and no here, and the yes and no there are a result of setting the name property here of the response event right there. If the response event class didn't have a name, these two would simply say element 0 and element 1. And so that's a very good way to keep track of what's going on and to see what events are linked to which response. Alright, so let's go ahead and pop back into the dialog system. We're going to make a few modifications to the dialog UI and the response handler to get this working. So we'll first of all pop into the response handler, and we're going to make a new method, and we'll call it public void add response events. And this method will take in a response event array, which we'll call response events. And now up here in the fields, we're going to make a private response event array called response events. And so this method here will simply set this dot response events equal to the response events passed in through the parameter. And then down here, we're going to start by converting this into a for loop. So we'll do for int I is equal to 0, while I is less than responses.length, I plus plus. And then we're going to go ahead and say response is equal to responses at the ith index, and we also want to store I as response index, like that, because we're going to be needing it in the onPickResponse method here. So if we pop down into onPickResponse, we're going to go ahead and add a new parameter which we'll call response index, and then we're going to go ahead and pass that in up here, so response index, which is the one we saved right there. And finally we're going to say if the response events is not equal to null and response index is less than or equal to response events.length, then we know that we have an index here which is in bounds of the elements inside of the response events array. Then we want to go ahead and say response events at the ith index dot onPickResponse, sorry, not the ith index, at the response index, and then question mark dot invoke. So what this is doing is it's checking if there is a response event at the response index, and in that case it's going to invoke its event. Okay, let's go ahead and update the dialog UI real quick. We'll make a new method here, which is called the public void add response events. We'll take in the response event array called response events, and then we'll simply call response handler add response events with these response events. And then we're going to pop back into Unity, and we're going to open up the dialog activator here, and we're going to make an if try get component out dialog response events, then player.dialogui.add response events, and we'll just pass in the response events.events. And we'll pop back into Unity and wait for that to compile. And now if we go to the circle here and click yes, and we can add a new event here, and then drag in some game object, I'm just going to drag in the circle, then we can call the setActive method with false. If we go ahead and hit play now, and go talk to a red circle, and we say yes, then we'll notice that the circle has disappeared. And so this is essentially how you set up events to occur when you click a response. Now before we go any further, there's something that we need to address first, and that is that if we pop into our circle here and open up the response events, we need to make sure that this dialog object is the same one which is inside of the dialog activator. So we'll just make a quick public dialog object, which will return the dialog object. Then we'll pop into the dialog activator and we'll say and response events dot dialog object is equal to dialog object. And this is just to make sure that if you attach the dialog response events class to a game object which also has a dialog activator, then the two dialog objects should match and be the same. Alright, so now the final thing we're going to do is inside of the dialog activator here, I'm going to show you how we can use this to update the dialog after a response has been picked. So we can do public void update dialog object, and this will take in a dialog object, and we'll just say this.dialog object is equal to dialog object. And now if we come back into Unity and go create a new dialog object here, then I'm going to go ahead and add one dialog here, and I'm going to write in I'm done, and we'll just call this one done. Now if we go to the circle here, then we can attach the dialog activator down here, and we can find the method that we just created inside the dialog activator, which is called update dialog object. And if we click that and then drag in the done object here and go ahead, click play and go talk to a red circle, then if we say yes and talk to him again, then he's going to show that dialog. And so that's essentially how you can use this to chain any sort of event based on what response the player picks. Right, so one thing I noticed after editing is that I forgot to get rid of the response events after a response has been picked. And so this means if another dialog appears and you click the first index again, and that index had the response event set from a previous dialog, then that event from the previous one would fire. So in order to fix that, we're going to open up the response handler here, and we're going to pop in here and we're going to set the response events array to be equal to null so that it gets deallocated. And then one more thing we should do is we should only show the dialog if the response has any dialog to show. So we'll do if response.dialog object, and we want to show it, otherwise we want to close the dialog UI. And the dialog UI has a method called closeDialogBox, but that method is private, so let's just pop in here and go to the closeDialogBox method, and we'll set this to be public. And then back in the response event handler, we'll just say dialog UI.closeDialogBox. And then that issue is fixed. And we also fixed the bug that would occur if the response didn't have a dialog object attached. Another thing that can be quite irritating when working with the dialog objects is that if you decide to change existing dialog and add a new response here and set this to, I don't know, I'll just put 3 A's there and then pop into the circle, then you'll notice it's not there. So we're just going to go ahead and make an editor to allow us to click a button to force this response event script to update. So if we go ahead and open the dialog system folder, we'll go create a new folder, and this folder has to be called editor because it's going to contain an editor script. And in order to tell Unity that it's an editor script, it has to be inside of an editor folder. So we'll just copy the name of dialog response events, and we'll make a new C# script called the exact same thing, but with editor at the end. And we'll open that up in our text editor. Then we are going to be using the Unity editor, and we are going to inherit from editor. And this is going to be a custom editor for the dialog response events, like that. And so let's just get rid of these default methods here, and we'll go ahead and override the onInspectorGUI method and get rid of this line here, and we'll just call draw default inspector, and then we're going to say dialog response events is equal to, and then we'll typecast to dialog response events this editor's target, just like that. And we'll say if GUI layout.button, and we'll call this refresh. Then we'll say response events dot onValidate, and we'll just get rid of these two namespaces. And so now if we come back into Unity and click on the circle, you'll notice there is a refresh button here. And you'll also notice, since we just made a change to the code and had it recompile, this updated. But now if I go ahead and open up the test dialog object and get rid of this one here, and come into the circle and click refresh, then you'll notice it updates. And so that's going to make it a lot easier to work with. Instead of having to change properties every time you want to make a small change, you can just click the refresh button. Right, that's going to do it for me for this episode. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take care.